Welcome to the Director's Craft.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah, honestly, I just wanted to say, actually, firstly, there was so much heart and soul in Guspet.
We've put in a lot of hard work, heart, soul, sweat, blood. It is a short film, but it was quite a mammoth undertaking because of the challenges that were fairly large. But yeah, I'm glad it's worked out and you've liked it, and a lot of other people are liking it.
We're going to talk more about the film in a minute, but what's the first film that made you fall in love with cinema?
Wow, first film. I think it was Mr. India, if I'm not mistaken. It was Mr. India and
Yeah.
Maine Pyar Kiya.
Uh-huh.
Maine Pyar Kiya and Mr. India. These two films. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, do you think that kind of inspired your journey into filmmaking?
Um, I don't think it was just these two movies. I have been a movie fanatic since a very young age. Even before that, I knew I've always had this huge collection of films
Hmm.
as a kid. Uh, I was just obsessed with watching movies in the cinema. Um, I mean, there's not been a single movie that I mustn't have watched when I was like, all through my growing up years, when I was 6, 7, 8, I was also very naughty. So my parents would just
Hmm.
send me with some help to watch a film, and I would, just, and this is like, so weird that I'm making movies now and having to tell you this, but I could watch a movie n number of times. I must have watched even the crappiest movies 5 times in a cinema hall. There were times where I have, bunked school without telling anyone and
Hmm.
watch the same film week after week, week after week, because just the experience of the cinema was so good. I never thought I'd be a filmmaker,
Hmm.
but yeah, life just kind of designed it in a way where my education in filmmaking began very early on.
Hmm. Was that due to Shekhar Kapoorji? Because I know you've said that he's kind of your guru.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't because of him. My filmmaking experience started way before. I got to meet him like about almost a decade ago.
Uh-huh.
And it's so strange, as I told you, the very first few films that impacted me, one of them was Mr. India.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
having to, how life, in fact, my first very ID that I'd made was Mogambo Rules. Yes, and little did I know that, a few decades from that point, I would get to work with the man who made Mogambo, and he was just a blessing in disguise. I firstly never thought that he would take me as his assistant. I don't think I was like qualified enough, but yeah, things like worked out pretty fine.
They did,
Yeah,
and so moving on to Guspet. So
yeah,
tell me about that writing process. How did you begin Guspet?
sure, sure. So, um, well, in early 2020, there were these huge protests that were going on against the infiltrators coming in from Bangladesh. I
Hmm.
did not quite understand what the political scenario was. I still don't quite get it, very honestly. But I got very curious and I started researching about it, right? And through my research, I found these different themes of the cattle smuggling, that there are about 1 lakh cows that are illegally smuggled between the two countries. I found out about the refugee crisis, about the
Hmm.
ethnic cleansing, and all through this, my guide became Danish Siddiqui's photography.
Yeah.
His brilliant photographs were so cool, and I was like, oh my god, if I could even like just get to capture one frame of this in a movie,
Mm.
that would be so amazing. So what I wanted to do was, I wanted to take all these different themes and just see what I could do with it. I wanted to, and the treatment, the approach that I wanted was anxiety inducing, because I just watched Parasite in 2019. I was so obsessed with it.
Same.
I'd also watched Uncut Gems, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is really crazy. Can I even touch this? And I think short films are a great way to like just experiment and just go out there and see if something clicks. So yeah, my mind was just completely filled with all these themes and thoughts, and I started to write in probably in 2 nights, 3 nights. I wrote the script, and it's been the same since
Oh,
then.
wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And the location wise, it's so authentic. I'm please forgive me if I'm not pronouncing this correctly. Was it
mm.
shot in Bhiwandi?
Yeah, you're pronouncing it correct. It
Okay.
was shot in Bhiwandi. I shouldn't have given that away. But even the locations it took me about 6 months of, scouting for locations,
Yeah.
because I knew that I wouldn't get the monies to shoot it at the real locations, but it had to be authentic. If you
Yeah.
don't believe the locations, you're not going to believe the film.
Exactly.
And so I scouted everywhere around Maharashtra, the entire state. I went to Gujarat,
Hmm.
and it had to be shooting friendly as well. So I think I just got really lucky that I mean, my entire team, we must have done around 15 scouting recce's for this,
Hmm.
and they all were so tired by the end of it that this guy's like just not deciding. But finally, I got that perfect location. I was like, okay, sometimes when you just see a location, you feel it. You're like,
Yeah.
this is it, this is it, and that's what happened with Guspet. And I was like, okay, this is where we are going to make the movie.
It was honestly, it was there was that sort of, it was nature, there was that fear element because it's deserted almost. So I
Right.
completely, I absolutely was enamored by the location.
Thank
And
you so much. Thank you.
yeah, so because that's when you what you visually what you're seeing, that kind of makes you kind of be really hooked into the story even more so. So that's why the
Yeah,
locations are always very very important, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
They are very important.
yeah, they're.
And the thing is that I actually had some better locations in mind,
Mhm.
but I couldn't shoot there, unfortunately. So yeah, we just stuck to these. But probably when I make a feature on Guspet, I'll shoot on those locations.
Oh, so there is a plan for a feature. I was actually just thinking this, like this could be a feature.
Yeah, this could be a feature. I'll tell you why. Because there are so many characters, interesting characters,
Yeah.
and for me, stories which have like very interesting characters are the stories that I want to see. I don't know if it would be with the same characters though, because now the rights are with Geo.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping if I could make a full length feature on Danish Siddiqui's life.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm working towards. Let's hope.
Well, I fingers crossed for that because I was actually just thinking this as well. Like when I was finished off watching the film, and I was like, I would love to see more. Like half an hour for me wasn't enough. I wanted to see more, and so I would be really looking forward to seeing that. And in terms of like casting, I mean, there's so many like there's like different schools of acting. I think in your film. Like, I mean, can I first of all start by saying I think Pamela and Pari, I was absolutely mesmerized by it because I had never seen them on screen before. So Korak, he is so menacing. And those three, especially because those are the three I hadn't seen in films before. So that's why I wanted to start off by talking about them. So how did you kind of
Yeah.
like do the casting process?
I had like 5 days to prep this film, and I shot
Yeah.
this film in 4 days, right? Um, but for 6 months before that, I was doing my homework. So
Mm-hmm.
I was constantly casting, looking for actors and everything, but I was just not able to find the right Mujahideen leader, that is Korak's
Mm-hmm.
character. Um, I could not find Pamela's character, Manju, and the kid. And I locked all three of them 2 days before the shoot.
Oh wow.
I hadn't even met them. To start off with Korak, in fact, Korak and Pamela both I locked on the same call while I was just like finalizing the locations, and the day after that we were filming with them.
Mm-hmm.
Korak's character, there were a lot of actors that that were there. They were good, but I needed someone who was so menacing because he has just two scenes.
Yeah.
He represents the rebels, right? So
Mm.
if that is someone that you don't believe, if you don't give it surrender to his menace, then you won't believe the film. The
Exactly.
threat, the imminent threat, won't come through. And I'd almost given up on finding that right part, but there came Korak's test, and he just did one thing. He just did in his screen test,
Yeah.
and I was like, "That's it, no dialogue." And I was like, "Okay, that's the guy." And I got him on set, and he was so good. He was so good.
He's terrifying.
Yeah, yeah. Also, the actors were quite a pleasant surprise, so to say. I wouldn't take any credit for the performance. They were just like brilliant actors. Korak, Pamela, uh, Pari, Debu sir, Amit. They all just brought their A games frankly, I was pleasantly surprised by their performance. I wasn't expecting something so explosive. And Pari was just what I really liked about her was her innocence. She wasn't like many of those rehearsed actors. She was just
Yeah.
she was just free. She just like any other kid. She had
Mhm.
beautiful eyes.
Mm.
I wish I could have shot a few more scenes with her, but I didn't have the time. And yeah, Pamela, I actually took her for her voice.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen much of her performance. She sent me a test, but I don't think that was a valid way to judge her acting capability. She was good, I knew that, but I think the way she spoke, her hoarse voice, is something that I wanted for the character because this is someone who's been on the run, who's not had water. So that's
Yeah.
why there's this hoarseness in the voice, and which is what I really like. But she turned out to be a fabulous actor as well.
She is, and actually with Puri, what I loved about that character is that the fact that at such a young age she's had to kind of grow up because of what she's seen,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah,
and, and I think Puri actually captured it perfectly because I was thinking
mm,
she must be like 5 or 6, and she's doing,
yeah,
and also Dibyenduji, I absolutely loved his work for years. I mean, he's like one of
mm,
those rare gems in the industry.
yeah, yeah. He is totally, and what a phenomenal performance he's given. I think one of his finest. Again, I was so pleasantly surprised when him and Korak or him and Amit would perform because I was like, you know, this is suddenly beyond the script. This is suddenly beyond the page. They've just taken the scene to somewhere else. You wouldn't believe it. So many times I would forget to call cut because I was so mesmerized in that scene. And these guys would keep going on. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. So there's a lot of improv in the film as well.
Yeah, and you can tell like the connection between each and every character. Like, and Amit, of course, like he's has this kind of expressive face, and kind of like you can just read his eyes, and then and kind of like he always delves like really deeply into his character.
Mm,
And
mm,
so
mm.
and his character Manav and Usman, I love the banter in the beginning. Do you know when they constantly just kind of fighting, and that was
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
like it had those moments in it, and then it had the serious moments in it. I think it has kind of everything, like and in just a space of like 30 minutes.
yeah.
It's amazing. Like my favorite scene was the scene where he kind of mentions Usman, he mentions like actually there's borders between you and me, but you just can't see them. And so
Yeah.
is there like a certain scene that is kind of really like close to your heart?
Oh, wow. There's a shot that is very close to my heart, which
Mhm.
does not have any of the actors. It's the shot of the ants going through the screen.
There's
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
gap in the branch, yeah.
yeah. And there was a lot of referencing that I did. Uh, and for me, that shot kind of like completely summarizes the entire film
Yeah.
in a very metaphoric way. Um, Having said that, the best scene for me, um, wow, there are a lot. There are a lot.
Mhm.
There are too many scenes to just because I mean, I would say the climax where Amit is performing was just a complete shocker because that was the only scene which was kind of incomplete in the script. I did not know what's going to happen in the end, but I just wanted to wing it because we just wanted to see how it goes. And that just came out so phenomenally well. I think the interactions between Usman and Korak's character, the terrorist, was amazing.
Yeah.
Also, also the point where, you know, I think even the performance where the disabled guy shoots himself. He was such a pleasant surprise because I just cast him because of the way he looked. I didn't think he would have any performance in the film, but his role kind of started emerging through the making of the film
Mm.
because he was such an amazing actor. So yeah, I think for me, one scene that really summarizes the story, just to answer your question without drifting away, it would be um, where Usman ask him why is he risking his life to save a couple of strangers, and
Yeah.
Amit's character says, "Tell him I'm doing exactly what he's doing."
Exactly. It kind of
Yeah,
shows the shared humanity. It shows, I think this film shows what humanity can be capable of, both in a good way and also in a bad way. So
yeah,
and I think that's captured it perfectly. Like he's saying, I'm doing exactly what you're doing and helping. And
mm,
like that scene when he's Usman is saying to Manju, why don't you hold on to your husband? And he shoots
yeah,
that twist where she's like, oh, he's not my husband.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so that it does like kind of emphasize the shared humanity in the end. Like there is good in people. And it kind of like shows you like this ray of hope,
Hmm, 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 hmm.
you
I
know.
think you so the idea was that, you can draw borders between human beings, but where do you draw borders between humanity? That is something, it's like the flow of water. How do you bound water? That's how humanity is. It's like the wind, it will just transpire no matter how jaded you are, how flawed you are, like how Usman's character is in the start. You don't believe that this guy would go out of his way without even knowing it himself, that his own humanity is overpowering his
Exactly.
morality. It ultimately becomes a story of two men from different nations, different religions, going against the fractured moralities of their nations, because they can't help it but be human. You know, that's the fundamental, and I'm glad it's come through the performances. It's coming through the writing, because that was the intention of the film.
It does, honestly. And like even like the scene where after the leader gets shot, he is Usman's almost questioning himself. Why did I get involved? Like,
Yeah,
why did I get involved? But and he continues to help them. So I think
correct.
that's what was just beautifully shown. That sort
Yeah,
of yeah,
he's on autopilot. He's not thinking. He's just on the go, and he's just letting his instincts take charge. And when you let your instincts take charge, you can't help but be human.
yeah. So honestly, that's what I felt so deeply when I watched this film. Like, it really makes you think. Like, that's the power of film, I think, because
Mm, mm,
like
mm.
like there's no point of watching like I mean I know each film has a different purpose, but those films that kind of really make you think, so they stick with you. This was one of those films that has kind of stuck with me.
I'm glad it managed to do that. I mean, I feel absolutely honored that this film, just with a duration of 30 minutes, can actually transpire and make people feel this way, make you feel this way. That's
Mhm.
that's just so overwhelming. It's really nice, because what happens is, with a treatment like this, it's very easy to drift away and just make it like a mindless thriller of
Yeah.
just great sequences, and because we do have those,
Hmm.
but to balance, the maximum reaction that I'm getting is, oh, we are so moved with this film, it's
Yeah.
so deeply connected us. Well, there are very few dialogues in the film is not at all talky movie, but still it's moving people. People are being touched, like you're feeling this way, and that is just, I mean, so overwhelmingly nice. I'm so happy that the film has uh, come across that way.
It has like you've shown this kind of gruesome reality, but then at the same time in such a subtle way. So I don't know, like it's kind of like both. Thank you so much, actually, for taking the time and speaking to me about this film, because it definitely has had that impact. And I I genuinely hope, actually, to see way more from you, Mihir.
Oh, that's, yeah. I hope you get to see a lot more from me from me, and I'm working hard towards it. Hopefully, you'll get to see something very very soon. And thank you for watching my film. I'm so happy that it's connected to you in this way. It's really overwhelming, and thank you for having this talk with me. And it feels really good. So tell me, if I may ask, what's your favorite scene of the film?
Oh well, there's so many. But
Mhm.
first was the obviously when Usman says to Manav like there's a border between us, but you just can't see
Sure,
it.
sure.
But then also I think the like in terms of like the opening scene, the opening scene was just kind of just grapples you like when you see you're in the truck and everything's dark and kind of dimly lit, and
Mm,
almost like there's a lot of like handheld camera work,
mm, mm.
And so I think that's what it is. Like you're kind of traveling with Manav and Manju and Chinti
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Usman. And I think that a lot of the camera work, when it kind of gets like, like bumpy, like those were like my favorite scenes, and especially the thrill aspect. In terms of thrill aspect, it was that scene where the Mujahideen leader actually comes and sits
Yeah.
in and asks for a lift, and what goes
Uh,
on there, and they're hiding inside
yeah,
that box. I
yeah,
was
yeah.
honestly, my heart was racing throughout that entire scene because I was
Okay.
like, something's gonna happen. Maybe Chinty's gonna say something, or like, because she is a kid at the end of the day.
Yeah.
She might say something by accidentally. And that was actually, yeah, genuinely. I think there's so many scenes, and in fact, the one you said also with the ants crossing on the
Yeah.
divided branch,
Mm-hmm.
that was actually such a like yeah, that visually was quite striking, because and also with, like, in terms of Manav being a photojournalist, like this
Mm-hmm.
scenes when you have those pictures, so you just see
Yeah.
what pictures he's capturing, because then
Yeah.
people can tell you so much more, even like in such a short space of time, more than words.
Yeah.
Pictures
Yeah.
tell you a
Yeah.
story.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they can. Absolutely. And they're all real pictures, real events that have happened in and around Bangladesh border.
Okay. This the kind of that edge of your seat feeling you have as well, like because
Mm.
you're constantly on edge with as you're traveling with Usman, Manav, and Manju and Ajinti. You're
Yeah.
basically like
Yeah.
that sort of feeling. I felt like quite exhausted after.
That's the whole point of, something anxiety inducing. It kind of exhausts you, but it takes you on a journey where you don't want to like look away from it for a second. That
Yeah,
was the intention.
it did. It honestly, like that sort of, it's like you're thinking, okay, what's going to happen next? That, like, there's very few films that actually do that now, like where, when they keep you guessing. That's what makes it such a like impactful film. And I actually watched it on in my house. I have this projector, so I watched it on that, and
Oh wow.
I was
Oh
like, oh my
wow.
god.
Well, that's how it should be watched.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's just like in a dark room, you're watching film, and I that half an hour, I was in that story with you.
Yeah, that's so nice. I'm so glad it's. I mean, you're feeling it that way. That was the intention. The whole idea of filming it in a certain way of having this very documentary-ish kind of approach was to
Hmm.
make the viewer experience what is happening and be a part of the character, be the fifth protagonist of the film, and take them on a journey rather
Yeah.
than watching it from a third person point of view. I wanted it to be experiential, like you're there, you can feel it, you can smell it. That's how I wanted it to be.
Yeah, and I think the cinematography has a lot to do with it as well. Like, so was that
Yeah.
Reed Garber who did the cinematography?
Yes, yes, he's a very dear friend of mine, one of the most finest upcoming DOPs. And the whole idea was that how do we shoot this film from a point of view of a 6-year-old refugee girl,
Hmm.
right? How would she consume all these events? So, keeping that in mind, we could really work on the cinematic language of the film, of how that will, and then we were very fortunate that we kept it, we maintained it throughout the film.
You did, and even like the music goes so well. Like, like the humming, the sounds in the back. Like, I think the music adds a lot as well to the emotion that you feel, because there's so
Mm,
many emotions you're feeling throughout the
mm,
duration,
mm, mm,
and it
mm,
basically,
mm, mm.
the music kind of induces that emotion as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Again, the music is done by a very, very talented friend of mine called Sanchit and his brother Ankit.
Hmm.
They are actually very sought after music composers and score composers in India.
Yeah.
And he was very, very kind to do this for me uh, and to support me. And what a brilliant job he's done. I mean, that song that comes at the end, wow, just
Yeah.
takes the film to another level altogether.
Yeah, and it is like the actual, yeah, the credit song, when the credits roll,
Yeah.
kind of like, then you feel like, okay, I'm feeling something now, and
Mm,
and I'm not sure what this feeling is, but it's kind of
mm.
like heart wrenching.
Yeah, it is. So it was actually, in the truck when the terrorists get in, there's
Yeah.
a terrorist who's singing a song.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that same song that
Yeah.
has been made into a prayer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's beautifully done. Like the entire film, I can't tell you enough. I genuinely am saying this from the bottom of my heart. I honestly loved watching Guspe.
Thank you so much. It is so kind of you to say that. I'm really touched. I'm so happy that the film is, traveling across, and people like you are just connecting to it. It's amazing because that wasn't the intention. I just made it as a showreel, and it's really overwhelming. It's very, very sweet of you to say this.
No, it genuinely has kind of it has the power to kind of cross boundaries, and which it
Yeah.
has. It literally, like I'm watching it in London, and
Hmm.
basically you've taken it to so many festivals abroad.
It's amazing, but that's the power of cinema.
Yeah,
It's a language that none of us understood, very honestly. Even I don't know this language that they are speaking. But I think when human emotions are so strong, when people are actually saying something meaningful, you just understand. And I mean, beauty of this film is that it's transpiring beyond the borders because of the humanness that it has. Ultimately, people are connecting to the humanity of the emotions. It's not the language, and which is what is so amazing about it.
and that's exactly, yeah, that's exactly what I couldn't have said it better myself, because in the end we're all human. We're human before anything else, and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
divisions come afterwards. We're actually human, all of us.
yeah, yeah. True, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and so thank you so much, Mihir, for talking to me. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
this has been so enriching.
thank you. My pleasure. It was really kind of you to do this interview, and this is amazing, amazing. Thank you.
uh,
Looking forward to many more.
yes, look forward to more. Yes, I'm really looking
Definitely,
forward to seeing more.
definitely, definitely, for sure. Thank you so much. This has been lovely.
Thank you, same here. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mihir.